is total crap, or it is honest misidentifications of prosaic objects. But that 5%, it's really interesting, and it's why the government is now, looking into it once again.
Yeah, it is really weird to see the government looking into it openly. That's what's strange. Like the fact that it's like the younger version of me would be like bracing myself for contact. I'd be like, it's coming. If they're talking to us about it now, because my thought was always like, they probably, if UFOs are real and aliens exist, they have been in contact, they probably don't think we can handle it. So they probably want to keep us as calm as possible and just dismiss everything and go back to work, go back to sleep, do what you got to do, don't pay attention to this is all nonsense, and that's what most people do. But when the government is actually openly discussing the fact that they not only have been studying this, but they have some video footage of some things they cannot explain, and they're saying this just out in public, in legitimate, recognized publications, newspapers, television shows. It's weird to see.
Very weird for me. Now, it's, 33 years that I've been chasing this, and I become, and I don't want to talk about me, but I mean, I become the UFO reporter, whether I like it or not. I'm not the UFO reporter. I'm a reporter who's interested in that. The UFO stories I've done in all that time, it's been a lot, but as a percentage of all the reports that I do, it's small. I'm a news guy. I chase bad guys mostly for the I-Team, but those UFO stories have gone all over the world. The UFO field is so polluted with liars and exaggerators and fast buck artists and people who appropriate this story for their own political agendas, to make money, to get attention. It takes 90% of your energy just to wade through the crap and get to the hard facts, and there aren't that many of them, and to figure out who's telling the truth, who's reliable, who's honestly trying to pursue the story and get to the truth. It's a task that is difficult, and I don't blame other journalists for not giving it a fair shake, because it's not something you could do in a week. I remember saying to myself, this is how cocky I was
you're
in the
getting
beginning,
crazy with that
I'm reading these UFO books, and boy, this field is a mess. But there is some good information in here. Give me 6 months and I'll have this figured out. Well, there's 33 years later, I know less than I did now. I know I have a lot more facts in my head, but all the big questions, we don't have answers to them. I don't think anybody does. Who they are, where they're from, why they're here, what their interest is in us, what the long-term agenda is. We don't know that, and I don't think anybody does. I've gone pretty far high up the food chain.
As a career journalist, what did it feel like to you when you started seeing the government actually coming out and saying, we are trying to investigate these reports, we know that there is something to them, these are real claims by real pilots, real scientists have reviewed these things, and they find them troubling?
It's a mix. The most immediate reaction is astonishment, because of all the years I'm chasing this. Everywhere you go, you run into brick walls when dealing with the government. That's really what got my attention and where I wanted to focus, because I can't go out and wait for UFOs to show up, although I've done that. But I wanted to follow the paper trail. The government has this whole big, long history of documents that they exchanged, reports, memos, incident reports about UFOs, before the Freedom of Information Act became the law of the land. And they're very candid with each other. They're not that way anymore. They hide stuff. But back in those days, they were candid that this is from somewhere else. This is real. It's not fictitious. We need to look into this. We got to make sure it's not Russians or Chinese. And we have to figure out who's got this technology, because we don't. It's not ours. And then, of course, when Freedom of Information Act became the law of the land, all these agencies that had lied about it, no, we don't have any UFO reports, have to cough up thousands and thousands of pages. They have absolutely stonewalled this and lied to the public for a long time. So to finally see them admit, yes, we're taking it seriously, which I have known all along. Of course they have to study this. Unknown craft float over our nuclear missile bases, disarm the missiles. We have fighter jets go after them. They leave them in the dust. They can fly circles around our best technology. They mess with nuclear power plants, nuclear weapons, nuclear facilities like Los Alamos. It is a national security issue, and they have been paying attention to it. They just haven't been telling us. So for the New York Times to come out in December 2017 and say, yeah, there was a program, and yeah, they've been looking at UFOs. Oh, by the way, it's all done. It's still a mixture of lies and some glimpses of truth. But I never thought I would see this in my lifetime. I never thought I'd see this much progress. The last 2.5 years has been the most astonishing time in the history of this subject. And I'll tell you, Joe, there is stuff bubbling right under the surface now that is going to rock our world, I think, in the next year or so.
Did you see Trump on TV being interviewed by his son?
Yeah.
It was kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
There's very interesting things. Very, very interesting.
We're going to
Anyway,
open Roswell.
We're going to open Roswell. I think
What?
he meant Area 51.
Yeah, well, he's barely paying attention.
I think he has been briefed.
Yeah.
I think he has been briefed more than once. You know, I think because he watches Tucker Carlson, and Tucker's got UFO people on there once a month.
Does he?
Yeah, he's had for the last year. He's had UFO people once a month or so. Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon and people like that. And I thought that would, if anything, that would get Trump's attention because you know that's what he pays attention to.
Right. That's hilarious. These stories about UFOs over nuclear bases and weapons facilities and things along those lines, has that been substantiated?
Oh yeah, yeah. So this happened.
Tell me the stories.
1975, they called it the Northern Tier case. So we have a string of bases up by the Canadian border, all the way across the U.S. from Maine to Montana, nuclear missile facilities. They were ready to go in the darkest days of the Cold War. Those missiles, ICBMs, are ready to go, aimed at Moscow and other places. And in 1975, 74 and 75, one after another, these bases were visited. They thought they were mystery helicopters or something, lights in the sky right over the missiles. In a couple of cases, they disabled the missiles. If we had gone to war, we wouldn't have had those missiles being able to fire. There are some indications that the launch control codes were interfered with. And then we scrambled jets. The military personnel had reported this up, and the things go away. We can't catch them. Whatever they were, it clearly is a threat to national security.
Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Is there an official record of these encounters?
Yes. OSAP that we could talk about, they also really focused on the Northern Tier cases, and they looked up some of those guys. They found some of the nuclear missile officers and security personnel and interviewed them. And they told the story, all the UFOs and nukes has been his specialty for the last 30 years. He wrote a book, made a film. It's chilling. Part of what has happened is it not only happened to us, the U.S., but in Russia. So once I got UFO fever and became a UFO reporter, I traveled all over the world, and one of the places I went twice was Russia. After the fall of the Soviet Union,